How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Chav Beis, Daf 22 of Masechta Makos. Friends. The first part of today's Daf is like kind of funny. I mean, funny in like a Gemara kind of funny Babylon Talmud kind of way. Yeah. All right. We're gonna start in Daf Chav Aleph Amud Beis. About 5 lines or so, 4 or 5 lines before it gets wide. About 5-10 lines from the bottom. All right, Chav Beis, third to last daf of Masechta Makos. So pretty interesting. We're getting towards the end over here pretty quickly. Very small Masechta. There we go. About 5-10 lines from the bottom. Omer le Ula of Nachman, Ula sister of Nachman, Vilelke nami mishum zoreya be Yom Tov. So Ula asked of Nachman an interesting question. So we talked about how you could plow and you could be chayiv for Makos 8 times for one plowing. And we said one of the things that he's chayiv Makos for is that he's plowing on Yom Tov. It's Yom Tov. He's not allowed to plow. What about the fact that we said that as he's plowing, he's covering a seed? That should be planting. So he should also be chayiv for planting on Yom Tov. So for plowing on Yom Tov, for planting on Yom Tov. So Omar Lei, so Rav Nachman responds, Tana v'Shayr. Meh. The Mishnah wasn't so exact. It left out a few things that you chayiv for. Omar le, Ula says, Ma pitom. Tana katoni shmone. Vat Omar, Tana v'Shayr. The Mishnah, the Tana of the Mishnah is saying he's chayiv for 8 things. Not 7, not 9. 8. And you're telling me, yeah, it's not precise. It's very precise. So Omar Rave says, Rave, yesh chiluk melachos b'Shabbos v'en chiluk melachos b'Yom Tov. So Rave says something interesting, which is that there's chilik melachos on Shabbos. That on Shabbos, if you do multiple melachos, you can be chayiv multiple times. If you do multiple things by accident, you can be chayiv multiple korban chatasis. However, on Yom Tov, of course, you're not chayiv koris or korban chatasis or anything. You be chayiv makos. On Yom Tov, we don't divide things up. We're not going to make you chayiv for multiple things on Yom Tov. So you're not going to be chayiv for chorish and zoreh. You're only going to be chayiv once. Omlei Ado tehei, so Ula says azoy. He says, okay, sounds good to me. Eisve Abai, but Abai asked the kasha, ve'ein chilik melachos b'Yom Tov? Is that really so? There's no chilik melachos on Yom Tov. Of course, it's chilik melachos on Yom Tov, says Abai, and therefore he should be chayiv multiple times. Ve'atani, we learn in the Brisa, hamevashol gid becholov b'Yom Tiv va'acholo. You hear this? A person on Yom Tiv cooks the gid anoshe. The gid anoshe is the synatic nerve. It's the gid anoshe, the thing in the Yaakov Avinu and the Sarah Vesav. He limping. We don't need the gid anoshe. So sciatic nerve. So now the gid anoshe is also, of course, meat. So, of course, you're not allowed to cook basar b'chalav. You can't cook meat and milk. Okay? You also can't eat meat and milk. You also can't eat the gid anoshe. Okay? So, you have a guy, he's mevashal gid b'chalav. So, not only is the gid anoshe, it's also in chalav, and it's b'yom tiv. V'achalo, and he eats it. Lo kechomish, he's going to be, we're going to hit him 5 rounds of hitting. Lo kemishum ochel gid. He's going to be chayiv for eating the gid anoshe. You're not allowed to do that. He's cooking on Yom Tiv for no reason, right? I mean, you can cook on Yom Tiv to eat, but here you're not allowed to eat. You can't cook a gid anoshe in milk on Shabbos on Yom Tiv. So you're chayiv for that as well. You also chayiv for basar b'chalav. He's cooking the gid anoshe in milk. And he's also chayiv for eating basar b'chalav. So he's chayiv for eating the gid anoshe, he's chayiv for eating basar b'chalav, he's chayiv for cooking basar b'chalav, he's chayiv for cooking on Yom Tiv for no reason. And and he's also going to be chayiv for kindling for no reason. And so we say that he's chayiv for bishul as well as for havara on Yom Tiv. So Abai says, we see from this brisa that you can be chayiv multiple times. Right. You could be chayiv for multiple Yom Tiv violations. And if what Rav is saying is correct, that ein chiluk melachis b'yomtiv, well then mishum havare lo lichayiv. He should not be chayiv for avare because he's already chayiv for bishul. Do chayiv them mishum bishula. So already chayiv for bishul. So the Gemara says, you know what? Apik havare v'ayil gid anosha shon nevela. So the Gemara says, you know what? You make a good point. Swap out havare, kindling, and replace it with that the gid anosha was nevela, so he's chayiv for eating nevela. So it's not that he's chayiv for kindling, because that would be problematic, because you can't be chayiv for two things on Yom Tif. Ein chiluk melachos b'Yom Tif. It's not that he's chayiv for kindling, he's chayiv because the gid anosha was nevela, he's chayiv for eating nevela. That's the fifth thing that he's chayiv for. V'atoni Reb Chia, but one second, Reb Chia taught, lo keshtayim al achilasu v'shalosh al bishulo v'i'iso shalosh al achilasu u'chayiv. Interesting question. That Reb Chia says that of the 5 things that he's chayiv makis for in this scenario, 2 of them are eating related and 3 of them are cooking related. Right? So if we look at the list at the brisa as it was initially, so the 2 eating related things that you chayiv makas for are eating the gid anosha and eating basar b'chalav. And there's 3 cooking related things that he's chayiv for: cooking on Yom Tif for no reason, cooking basar b'chalav, and kindling, which is related to cooking, the fire. Now, if you say swap out kindling for the fact that he ate nevela, well then it's 3 eating related makis and only 2 cooking related makis. So ela apik havare v'ayil atze asher. So rather swap out havare for the fact that what he kindled was, well, the fact that he made the fire with asherah wood, avodah zarah wood. So the 5th thing that he's chayiv makis for is the fact that he got benefit from avodah zarah. And the warning against doing that, of getting benefit from avodah zarah, is that you can't take any of the spoils, any of the avodah zarah with you. That was after what? That was after what? Like the fighting with Midian or something. So, but if we're talking about that he used asherah wood as firewood, well then, in addition to being in violation of v'lo yidbak v'biyodcha, he's also in violation of lo savi se'ev al b'secher. Don't bring abominations into your home. Rather, it's talking about where he cooked with fire of hektish. The fire was the wood was hektish, and you can't get benefit from that. So that is what you get lashes for. But of course, you're allowed to bring hektish into your house. That's not a problem. That the pasuk says that the asherahs, the avodah zarah, you have to burn. Then the next pasuk says, but don't. The next pasuk or the same pasuk? The same pasuk says, no, the next pasuk says, don't do this to God. Don't burn hektish. And he burned hektish, so he's chayiv makis for that. That's the 5th one. But we are going to maintain that ein chilik melachis b'yom tiv. Very interesting stuff. Siman shanboy shans. Okay, thank you. Now, this next chunk it's kind of going to be a little bit of a funny thing. So, our Mishnah listed the 8 things that he would be chayiv for when plowing his patch or whatever. So he said you could be chayiv for 8 things. Now the Gemara is going to give all sorts of suggestions for additional things that you could say, well, maybe this was going on and he should be chayiv for that as well. So Maskif Rav Oshaya. Rav Oshaya asks, V'lechshov nami hazoreh b'nachal esan. Well, maybe when where the plowing was happening, and I guess the covering over of the seeds with the plowing was happening, was in a place where what's that thing called? Egla Arufa was Egla Arufad, and then it's a Nachal Eisen. You're not allowed, right? It says, you can't work that place. You can't be plowing. You can't be planting in that place. So maybe it was in a Nachal Eisen, and therefore you should be chayiv for working a Nachal Eisen. Maskifler of Chanina ve'lichshov nami hamochek es Hashem ba'alichaso. Rav Chanina asks, maybe there was a Shem Hashem on the ground, and when you plowed, you broke it in half, and you're chayiv for mochek Shem Hashem. that you can't destroy the name of God. So maybe you'd be chayiv for that too. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he had tsaras on his toe, and the plow went over his toe and cut off the tsaras. It says you have to guard the negad tsaras. You can't cut it off. Okay. Abai suggests, well, maybe when he was plowing, I don't know, somehow he moved the choshen from the breast, from the ephod, the apron of the Kohen Gadol. Maybe he took out poles from the Aron Kodesh. Maybe he's chai for that too. He's somehow related to the plowing. Lo yasuru, you can't take out the poles. Lo v'leizach choshen, you can't move the choshen from the apron. Maybe the plow was made out of Asherah wood. You can't have Asherah. Maskiv la Ravina. You can't to have any of this avodah zarah stuff and use it. Maskiv la Ravina v'lichshav nami hakotet zilanus tovos. Maybe he was somehow cutting down branches of a fruit tree, or he's cutting down a fruit tree. You can't cut down fruit trees. Okay, so the Gemara gives all sorts of additional things that maybe you should be chayiv for as well. Reb Zeira suggests to Reb Mani that what if he made a shvua that, and we're about to learn Masechta Shvuos in 3 days, that what if he made a shvua that he's not going to plow on Yom Tiv, and now he plowed on Yom Tiv, so he's in violation of that as well. Well, Hasam lo kachala shvua. Well, there the shvua is irrelevant because mushba omen me Har Sinai, because already from Har Sinai, like even before his shvua, he was already sworn, so to speak, from Har Sinai not to plow on Yom Tiv. So him now swearing not to plow on Yom Tiv doesn't do anything. Omar lei. So then Reb Zeira pushes forward and he says, okay, fine, but could go into Omar shvua shel achosh bein b'chol bein b'Yom Tiv. That Reb Zeira persists and he says, well, maybe the shvua was I won't plow not during the week nor on Yom Tiv. That since the shvua is relevant for the weekdays, right? He's saying he's making a shvua that he's not going to plow during the weekdays. So that's valid. And since it's valid for the weekdays, so it's valid also for Yom Tiv. And now he's in violation of that shvua. Midi de'isei b'she'ela lo katana. Yeah, but the Mishnah wasn't listing things that you can that you can do at Torah, that you can be meifir, that you can do at Torah's Nedarim there. Does the Torah's Nedarim work for Shavuos? I guess we'll learn about that in Masechta Shavuos that we're starting in 3 days, but apparently you can somehow annul that Shavua, and therefore things that are sort of not permanent states, because you can annul them, were excluded from the Mishnah. But is that really true? Very hektish. What about hektish? Hektish, you can be like you could do a Torah's Nedarim in hektish, yeah. What was it? No. Okay. Oh, come on, quick, come on. This is I got people waiting for me over here. Hektish. Oh, come on. Yeah, right, come on. Hurry up. Oh, hektish. Yeah. Appeal and annulment. Yeah. Okay. So yes, I guess you could annul hektish. So answers the Gemara b'bechor. Yeah. Well, it's talking about the hektish was a bechor, and a bechor is born that way. You can't annul the hektish of a bechor. Very nazir. What about a nazir? A nazir can do ataras nedarim on his nazirus. But nazir shimshim. Let's talk about nazir shim. There's shimshim. There's a few different explanations of what that could be. But let's say it's just like shimshim was already like an angel said already from the time he's born. So there's no kind of annulling that. So nazir shimshin by atmuy lemesimu. Yeah, but a nazir shimshin doesn't. We said in the Mishnah that what he did was he was in a cemetery, but cemeteries are not off limits for nazir shimshons. Ella haitana iser kol lesle. You know what? Fine. The reason why this at the Tana of our Mishnah does not include this person who made the shvua not to plow on Yom Tiv, not to plow during the week, not to plow on Yom Tiv, because our Tana holds that this shvua kolel, right? That meaning this I'm not going to plow during the week and on Yom Tif, and therefore it should be chal on Yom Tif since it's already chal on during the week. This Tana holds that doesn't, right? These kind of shvuas that sort of include, that like apply to something only based on its inclusion, that doesn't work, and therefore it's not going to be chal on the Yom Tif, since it's chal during the week. No, we're not going to say that. Amar Boshaya says, Boshaya might be a shor psuli amukdashim, that somebody who what's it called? Mixed breeds? Is that what it's called? Mixed breeding? Somebody who mixed breeds? There's probably a better word for that. What's the better word for that? Let's see, what does the article call it? He calls it somebody who breeds. Oh, it's just called breeding? Oh, okay. So somebody who breeds. Where am I? Hamabia shor psuli amukdashim lo k'shnayim. This is interesting. So if you have an ox that was supposed to be a korban, but then it got a mum. So now that it got a mum, so you can't offer it as a korban, so you podet, you redeem it. You redeem it on money, let's say. And now that ox, you can eat it. You could slaughter it and eat it. Now, there's a funny state of this ox. I'm sure we're going to learn about it. We're going to learn all about it, I'm sure, in Masechta, in Seder Kodshim, which is already kind of around the corner. By the time Rosh Hashanah rolls around, which is already less than half a year away, about a little bit over 5 months away, we're going to be meaning it's already going to be the New Year. It's going to be Rosh Hashanah. By then, we'll already be in Masechta Zvachim. So Kodshim is right around the corner as well. And we're going to learn about these kinds of things in Seder Kodshim. And but so it gets a mum, and so now you could slaughter and eat it, but it doesn't entirely lose all of its kedusha. For example, you can't work it anymore. You can't breed it anymore. You could slaughter and you can eat it, sure. So now, if you breed it, which is something that you're not allowed to do, so you can be chayiv for doing prohibited work with this psulei hamukdashin. And secondly, it's considered this like mix of an animal kind of thing, because it's considered like, because this one cow is kind of nishtahin nishteh. It's like, it's two things. It's like on the one hand, you can eat it. On the other hand, you can't work it. It's considered like two kinds of cows, so to speak. And therefore, if you breed it with even another cow, it's going to be like you're like mixed breeding, since this cow is considered like dual kind of type. So you'll be chayiv for mixed breeding, and you'll be for kilayim, and you'll also be chayiv for working the animal in unauthorized this psulei mukdashim in an unauthorized way. Again, Amar Boshaya Marbia shor psulei mukdashim, somebody who breeds a shor that's psulei mukdashim, that it's been redeemed, lo k'shnayim, you get makos twice, once for using this cow, working this cow in an unallowed way, and the other for mixed breeding. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak amanig b'shor psulei mukdashim. Similarly, somebody who is like working his field with a shor that's psulei mukdashim, loke sharei guf echaru vaso akasuv kishnei gufim. 1 second. Yeah, I guess who leads it, or it's like following the load. Basically, the point is that again, this cow is being worked in a way that it's not allowed to be worked, and again, it's considered like two types of breeds. What does it say? It says shari guf echadu vaso akosov k'shnei gufim. It's one cow, but it's treated as if it's two different types, and therefore it's going to be considered kilayim, and you can get makos for that. Oh wait, sorry. So I think that the point of the makos, I don't know what I just said, but over here it seems to be saying they're only getting makos once, and it's focusing on the fact that you're getting makos for the fact that you're working two different types together. It doesn't seem to be considering the fact that you're also working it in a not allowed way, which I imagine is probably also the case. But anyways. Now the next Mishnahs are going to talk about some like the nuts and bolts of makos. If you're kind of wondering, how do makos work? So we're going to kind of talk about that, and we're really getting towards the end of the Masechta here. So we're going to, and then tomorrow we're going to start getting into some Agadata, and that Agadata is really going to kind of take us to the end of the Masechta. So we're really towards the end here. Kama Malkin also. Okay, so finally. Now for the nuts and bolts of makos. We've been patient for the last 3 weeks of Masechta Makos, Eidim Zomim, Ir Miklat, all sorts of complicated sugyas, lav shnitak le'esei and stuff like that in Elu and Alokin. Finally, we're getting up now to the nitty gritty. No, let's get to the action. Kama malkanosa. How many times we hit him? Arboim chasar achas 39. 40 minus 1, 39. Shenemar, as the Pasuk says, b'mispar arboim, the number of 40. The Gemara is going to explain this a little bit better. Minchu samach l'arboim, a number that is close to 40, 39. The Gemara is going to explain this a little bit better. Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda, arboim shleimis hulaka. Rabbi Yehuda says no. All right, b'mispar. Right. Wait, what does it say? It says, what is the Pasuk test? It's two separate psukim, but b'mispar and arboim are juxtaposed. But Rabbi Yehuda says, look, it says arboim, it says 40, so it's 40. Arboim shleimus uloke. Ve'echon uloke is hayiseris bank seifov. So, but then the Mishnah asks, but here's the thing. As we're about to see in like literally the next words, I'll read it now. We basically give him an amount of makis that's divisible by 3. So what the Mishnah asked was, according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says that it's 40 makis, well, 40 divided by 3 has a remainder of 1, right? 3 goes into 39, but where's the extra hit, right? Because the way that you hit is twice from behind, twice on the back, and once on the front. Twice in the back and once on the front. So where does the extra hit go? So the Gemara says, ben kseifa, between the shoulders. That's where it goes. Ein omdin also ele b'makis rus le'ishtalish. And similarly, an important thing here is that we evaluate him as well, right? So this must have come up in different places, but yes, it's 39 makis, but if the person can only handle let's say 10, so we're not going to give him 39. He'll die at the 11th one, right? If you can only handle 10. So here's the thing. We said, in omdin also eleb makas ru'is l'shtalish. It has to be divisible by 3. So if you can only handle 10, we give him 9. Amdu l'kabel arboim. If initially they said, this is a strapping fellow, he can handle 40. Right? He can handle the whole amount. Viloka miktas, they started hitting him. And they see he's not as strapping as he looks. Ve'amdu she'en yachol l'kabel arboim. Potter. And they say, wait, he's not going to be able to handle, he'll die if we give him he can only handle 15. 18, let's say, because that'll be the number that we use. Right? He can only handle 18. So they stop at 18. Amdu l'kabel shmena esrei, if they said he can only handle 18, umishaloka, and after they hit him 18 times, they say, this guy, he's still got a fight in him. Amdu she'achol l'kabel arboim. They say he can handle the whole amount. Potter. No, we're not going to give him extra. Says the Gemure, my time, how come we say only 39 and not 40? If it says arboim b'mispar, if it said 40 in count, well then I would say okay, 40. But Hashem just said b'mispar arboim minyan shu sokem es arboim. It's a count. It's a number that sort of gets right that counts up to 40. That you count 39 and now you are up to 40. But it isn't 40. It's up to 40. So 39. Amar Rava says, Rava, kama tipshoy shar inshe dekaymi mekame sefer tere v'lo kaymi mekame gaber Rabba. It says, Rava, how foolish are people who stand up for a sefer Torah but do not stand up for a Talmud Chacham, because the Ilu B'Sefer Torah ksiv arboim v'asur arbanon batzu chada. I say the Sefer Torah says 40, but the rabbis come and say when the Sefer Torah says 40, it's actually 39. And while people stand up for the Sefer Torah, they don't stand up for the Talmidei Chachamim, and that is a shame, says Rava. Rabbi Yehuda Omer says, Rabbi Yehuda arboim shleimis v'chulei. Rabbi Yehuda says that it's 40 full, all 40 lashes. Amar B'Yitzchak, my time with Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yitzchak says, how come Rabbi Yehuda says that there's 40 lashes and the final one goes between the shoulders? The Chsiv, the Apostle says, Mahamakis o'ele bein yodecho. The Apostle says in Zechariah, what are these makis between your arms? I.e., right, between your shoulders. V'amar asher hikesi beis ma'ahavoy. Asher hukesi beis ma'ahavoy. that I was hit in the place of my loved one. And we want to say that that's Sanhedrin, i.e. he was hit 40 times in Sanhedrin, and the last whack, the last hit was between the shoulders. That's the 40th one. Whereas the rabbi said that the base me'avoy is not the Sanhedrin, it's the cheder, that he was hit between the shoulders by his Rebbe in cheder. Okay. So it has nothing. So the rabbis who say 39, they say that it's not talking about the 40th lash. It's talking about in his cheder. In omdin ela b'makis aruyis v'chulei. So we only evaluate numbers that are divisible by 3, and then we said that if they initially said he can handle 40, but then they saw that, let's say, he can only handle 18, so we only give him 18. Right? Meaning they started hitting him, and they say he can only handle 18, so we say fine 18. If they said he can handle 18, and after they're done hitting him, they say, wait, he can handle more, we don't give him any more. So laka in lo, laka lo. So if you notice in the Mishnah, Davka talks about where they already hit him, right? Meaning when they said he can handle 40, and they start hitting him already, and after 18, they already say, hey, this guy's at the end of his rope, we got to stop here, we stop there. Or if they hit him if they said he can only handle 18, they hit him 18 times, they see still has a fight in him, they say, no, we're not going to give him more. So in both cases, because they already hit him, they already started hitting him, implying that if they didn't yet start hitting him, they could make adjustments. They could make adjustments. Now, v'raminu, but we have a contradiction. Amdu lekabel arboyim. If they said, oh, he can handle 40, and then they haven't yet hit him, but v'amdu she'ein yachol lekabel arboyim potter. But then they said, wait, no, he can't handle 40, so he's potter. I don't know. Does this mean that they say they can't handle anything? Let's say, I don't know. So we say he's potter. Or at least even if they change their mind to 18, let's say, so he's potter for the difference, let's say. If they said he can handle 18, they haven't yet hit him. But then they say, you know what, he can handle, he can handle the full amount. Also potter. Right? We're not going to give him more than the initial amount. So on the one hand, our Mishnah said that as long as they haven't started, the implication of our Mishnah is as long as they haven't hit him, they can make changes. Yet the Brisa is saying that, no, even if they haven't started hitting him yet, they can't make any adjustments. Well, meaning Kilu, if they initially said 40, but then they say he can't handle it, so then they say he's potter, but if they already said 18, but they say he can have more, we don't make changes. So Amr of Sheshes says, of Sheshes lo kasher of amdu liyome ad amdu lemachor liyome ochara. So says Rav Sheshes said it's no problem. Our Mishnah, okay, so it depends if the follow-up evaluation happened on the same day or not. If it's on the same day, well, let's start the other way around. A person's state can change from day to day, okay? And therefore it's not so crazy to think that on this day they thought he can handle all 40, but on the next day his state changed, maybe he's sick, whatever, he can only handle 18. But on the same day, if they said he can handle 40, and then all of a sudden they're saying he can handle 18, clearly then, clearly they just made a big mistake in the morning, right, in the earlier evaluation. So therefore our Mishnah is talking about that. Our Mishnah is talking about on the same day. That on the same day there was this change, which is, so if that's the case of the same day, so the assumption is that the first evaluation was just wrong and it's null and void, and therefore we go based on the second evaluation. That's what our Mishnah is saying, right? That if they haven't yet hit him, and they said initially that he can handle 40, and then they say, oh no, he can only handle 18, so then we will adjust it. Right. Meaning, if they haven't yet started hitting him, initially they said 40, right, and then they said that he could handle 18. Well, wait. In that case, well, let's start the other way around, right? If initially they said that they can handle 18, he can handle 18. They haven't yet started hitting him, and then they said they can handle 40, so we adjust it to 40 because the initial one was just null and void. And therefore we can say, okay, fine, let's change it to 40. Wait, in the case where they initially said 40, I guess also it would be null and void. In that case, I imagine we should probably go with the 18 in that case as well, though, because if we're saying that the initial one was null and void, one second. Okay, so the point is that we basically just go based on the second evaluation, right? So meaning if it was that initially it was 18, so basically the first evaluation is null and void, and then we just wait until he's kind of stabilizes, and we give the second evaluation and go based on that evaluation. Whereas in the Brisa, it's talking about where it's a different day. So because the second evaluation was happening on a different day, the first evaluation isn't invalid. I mean, we assume that on the day that the evaluation happened, it was a valid evaluation. Things changed over time. So therefore, we're not just going to say like, well, the first one was null and void, right? And it was a problematic evaluation. It wasn't a problematic evaluation. So because we're not just going to throw away the evaluation, we're going to say that he's that he's going to be potter. So for example, if they had initially said 18, and now all of a sudden, like a few days later, they said that it's going to be 40, right? So they're going to say no, just stay with 18 because that was also a valid amount. Okay. All right. Fine. Yeah, that was a little technical there at the end. It says the Mishnah, Avra Aver Sheish Ba Shnei Laivin. Amdu Omed Echad Loka Upativim Lav Loka Misrab V'Chos V'Loka. This is an interesting one. So let's say, so we've been talking about scenarios where a person could be chayav multiple rounds of makos, right? So let's say a person is chayav 2 rounds of makos. So that's technically 80 makos, or technically really 78 makos. And they evaluate and say, how much can he handle? He's a strong guy, he can handle 42. Right? He can handle 1 full round of makos plus another 3. He can handle 42 makos. So if that's the case, okay, so give him 42 makos. Right? I'm reading the Mishnah. Amdu Omed Echad. If they just evaluate all of them once, they say, look, you can handle 42. Loka Ufatu, so you give him 42 makos and he's done. But if they don't evaluate him for both at the same time, or if you can't handle a full amount, so then Lav Loka Umisrapi, you give makos and he heals. And then when he's better, evaluate him again. But if that's the case, you might end up getting more makos that way, right? So let's say you can handle I don't know what's divisible, 30 makos, so you're gonna get 30, right? But if the max you can handle is 30, so you'll get 30, and then you'll heal and you get another 30, so that's a total of 60. But if you can handle 42, you'll get a total of 42. Says the Gemara, "V'atanya ein omdin omed echad l'shnei lavim." But I thought a Brisa says that we don't evaluate one evaluation for 2 lavs. So Amar Sheshes lo kashra da amdu la'arbaim v'chada had amdu la'arbaim v'tarti. So I think this is just important. This line in the Gemara is important to kind of understand a little bit better how this works. Meaning, where we say that you don't evaluate for 2 lavs is when he can't handle enough. Meaning, if the max that he can handle is 41, so we said in the Mishnah that it has to be at least divisible by 3. Right? So if the max he can handle is 41, which is 39 from the first lav, but only 2 for the second lav, that's not it. You have to be able to get at least 3 in for the second lav. If you can get 42 and up, so we'll say, full 39 for the first lav, and you can handle 3 for the next lav, okay, you're done, and that's it. But if it's only 41, chaval, because you can handle 41, so now you're basically going to get the full 39 for the first lav, and then you're going to heal. We're going to evaluate again. You'll get basically probably another 39. You can end up getting 78 instead of 42. But yeah, and also, of course, like I gave the example earlier, if all you can handle is 30, so you get 30 for the first lav, you'll heal, you'll probably get another 30 for the next lav. But if you can get 42, or if you can handle 42 or more, so then that can count for both lavs. So we're going to stop here. Yeah, we have a bunch to do, but it's basically just a Mishnah to the end. And we basically have Agadita now, essentially till the end of the Masechta in 2 days. See you tomorrow for Daf Chav Gimel. Peace out.